Welcome back, Blockheads. What a great journey we've been on, stitching together and watching your creativity unfold. Today we are wrapping up Blockheads 5 with some fantastic projects from the in-house team as well as some of the Moda designers. We will also share some design and organization tips from our talented designers. So without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, so for my Blockheads 5 setting, I decided to do big blocks for the center, and so we chose all of our favorites and created a medallion with them in the middle, and then all of the remainder of the blocks in the little size going around in the border. That way we got to work on the big blocks and the little ones, and it was not a complicated sampler setting, but still got to be able to use both sizes. So I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think it's going to be a favorite quilt, a Christmas quilt for years to come.
I'm Brigitte of Zen Chic, and if you know me for a while, you know I'm all about color. So my tip here is save all those inspirations in a kind of library and play with color for future projects. But let me show you what I mean. Now, with all this inspiration from Moda's posts, I will see how a finished quilt would look like. So we have lights in the background and mediums and darks for block 5 called Glimmer by Janet Clare. And the finished quilt with all these blocks would look like that. Okay, now let's exchange lights and darks, and then my block would have a dark background and a white star, and the quilt would look accordingly like this. Now let's play a little bit further. I now brought in more colors into my block, and I even exchanged the cornerstones. And let's see how my quilt would look like. It has now kind of a checkerboard inside between the stars and would make for a nice lap-size quilt, wouldn't it? So let's explore further with block number 3, Shimmer Star by April Rosenthal. I found this picture of the finished block on Moda's blog post. So we have a dark background, a medium star, and a white midpoint. And the finished quilt would look like that. Now I played around and exchanged lights and darks. So I have now a white background and a medium star. And it would give me a totally different impression. But I want to bring that one step further and point out the triangles in this block. Also in the corners I exchanged colors a little bit more, so I have the opportunity for a checkerboard in the middle like that. And well, that sunny quilt would really be fun to make. And let's look at block number 1, Dream Big by Sherry McConnell. So from the blog post I got that really happy colors in white and fresh green, I could say citrus colors, which makes for such a quilt. I love it. Now let's change lights and darks again. Now I have a dark background with those colors. And I play even a little bit more. Now I point out the cross, the diagonal cross in the middle with kind of a gradient. And I can use that in my moody room. So the point is here, you can play really around with a lot of different color options. And I would even recommend to print out the blog post and to gather all those ideas in a folder for a future library for quilts.
Hey everybody, it's Anna. I am here today to talk about my plan for my Blockheads quilt. When we say in the Blockheads group that there's no running behind or anything like that, we mean it. Case in point, my unfinished quilt top. So I'm excited about where it's going, but I just, you know, real life. I'm busy here at Moda doing a lot of things. We're in the middle of homecoming season here in Texas, and that means homecoming mums, and I do make a lot of those, so I've been kind of working on some other things, but this has been percolating in the background. My idea was to take my star blocks. I did only 6-inch blocks all throughout Blockhead, and I'm going to take those, and I just wanted to make like a little wall hanging or like lap quilt, and I wanted to do kind of a simple setting, just let the blocks speak for themselves. I had tried to mix up the background fabrics for my blocks as we went along, so some of them I used like a lighter background fabric and some of them I used a darker background fabric, and I wanted to lean into that with my setting. So I decided I was going to do these quarter square triangles, and I've used like a light print and then a darker print, and so as you can see, I've kind of plugged in prints with a darker background or kind of surrounded by these print triangles, and then my blocks with a lighter background are surrounded by the lighter print. So that sort of sets them off a little bit, and then I wanted this block to be the center, and then I kind of did this sort of alternating blues in the sort of a path here, and just kind of placed things, you know, where I felt like they looked good. I'm really happy with that, how it's turning out. I've got a few more blocks I need to make, you can see, so I'm going to try and decide like which blocks I want to make. I'm really excited about where it's going. It's been so fun to sew this. I loved making the tiny blocks. I've been very inspired by all of the things that y'all have done in the Facebook group. Thanks so much again for sewing along with us and for inspiring me with all of your beautiful quilts.
I'm Robin Pickens with Tips on Trimming. How do I trim half square triangles? And this goes for bigger blocks as well. I like to use a rotating mat, and I also like to keep a variety of little square rulers. So 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, all the normal sizes that I'm using. This is a little half square triangle, so I'm just going to go and line up also on that middle point. And I'm going to make sure that my block is all within. The great thing about the rotating mat is that I can keep my finger holding the ruler down in place and just rotate the mat around to be able to do all of my cuts. And that way I am not doing a lot of repositioning, and I'm getting a really good trim on my block. So this is my favorite way to trim, and I keep a lot of different sizes of rulers. I also have larger rotating mats for this purpose. So this is my Martelli one, which is really nice with the ball bearings. And if I'm doing whole blocks, like let's say it's a 12.5-inch block, I'm still going to use a bigger ruler on my block, put it on something here, hold it down, and then I'm going to rotate the mat as I do every size as I'm holding this down. So this is one of my favorite tools to help me do good trimming, is a rotating mat.
Hi there. A lot of folks that I speak with would love to play with color more in their quilts, but they're nervous. They want a framework to make sure that the colors that they pick look beautiful together. One thing that I recommend is picking an image from Pinterest or taking your favorite magazine and pulling an image from it. Take this image with you to the quilt shop and pull 2 or 3 colors that you see. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just maybe this blue here or maybe the green here in the corner. Pull 2 or 3 colors, add a neutral, lay them out, and see if they work together. There's no greater creator of color combinations than Mother Nature. So this provides a safe framework for trying new things, and hopefully it'll give you some inspiration for your next project. Have a good day.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and today I'm here to share my Blockheads quilt. I chose for this quilt a 6-inch finished square. And the reason why I chose it was I wanted it to be a baby blanket because I'm using the collection Noah's Ark for this quilt. And so all the blocks are tiny, and I used a very simple layout because I wanted the quilt to stay small. My block is right here, which is obviously one of my favorites. But I really love how all the colors play together, and I love how each block is kind of feels like a solid, so it's a very sweet patchwork. This is my quilt for Blockheads 5.
Hey everyone, it's Lisa from Primitive Gatherings, and Moda has asked us to do some fun little videos for you, and the one I want to start with is color. How do you pick what color you're going to do your quilt along, or your quilt, or whatever you're going to do. So I have a few little basic ideas on how to accomplish that. So one of the first thing I want to talk about is value. So value is light, medium, and dark. So you have to have a contrast in value. So I have a couple of my Moda Blockhead quilts from previous Blockheads here with me, and I'm going to just show you what I was kind of thinking when I did each one. So the first one was value in just 3 colors, red, white, and blue. So whether your colors are, red, green, and cream, or black, white, and orange. So pick 3 colors and go with that theme, like my red, white, and blue one here. The best part about it, being a Moda fabric designer, is Moda does all the work for us. We have all these cool pre-cuts already with certain color palettes built in for you to use. All you have to do is pick a background with some of these fat quarter towers and stuff like that. So another option is an accent color. So let's say Moda Blockheads 5 is my idea of an accent color. So I'm doing scrappy blocks, but I have a background color that stays the same, which is this light gray here. And then I have an accent color, which is this navy. So as you look through these blocks, you're going to see the navy and the gray in each one. And it's just, those are my accent color, and I just use that throughout the quilt. So that's another idea. Then we have a scrappy version, which is just like this. If we took this, did this with either scrappy backgrounds or one background, that's a great idea as well. Never can fail with scrappy quilts. Here's one of those value, all the same color values in here, all shades of blue here in this one. So again, you could do a navy background. You just wouldn't use a lot of the navies in certain spots. They wouldn't be on the outside of the blocks. They would be more on the inside. Or you could pick a cream as your background, and then you would do the opposite. You'd put the cream prints in the insides of the block as well. All right, now, and don't forget, there are so many options. This is one of my flannel lines. Look at how beautiful this is. And you could do any of these shades for a background. There you go. And pile those out of the way. Now this is just featuring one weird, bold accent color. So what I did is I took neutral colors here and then added this really cool background fabric, orange, as my pop. This is what's telling the story here, this orange as this background. So you could pick one main background color, and that will really show off your blocks as well. And then the last one I have here from Moda Blockheads, again, is kind of like using this one here, shades of blues and grays on this one here. So that all works together nicely, and this is a great opportunity there to show you a couple different examples on how to pick what your color theme is going to be for your quilt along.
Hi, I'm Alison. I'm part of the marketing team here at Moda Fabrics, and I'm here to talk about Blockheads 5 and how I'm finishing my 12-inch blocks, which are all fall colors. So basically, I took my blocks and I'm making them into a 4-block unit with an inset seam. If you remember, or if you've done your blocks, I was block 29 and I demoed how to inset seam. So if you need a reminder or haven't done it, we'll have a link in the description for you so that you can easily find it. Each unit will have 4 blocks, and then I just sew these into rows. So here's one row. So that's 12 blocks, and I'm going to do 3 rows, so that's 36. So I'm going to take 6 blocks from group 1 that we did seems like a really long time ago. And then after I get all 3 blocks of 36, I still plan on adding a border. So my quilt's probably going to be about 90 by 90 by the time it's done. I'll be finishing these blocks probably after quilt market, so about November. So hopefully by Thanksgiving, the quilt will be done. I'll have it on my blog. I'll post it on the Facebook group page. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Happy quilting.
Hello everybody, I am Heather Briggs of My Sew Quilty Life, and I'm so excited to show you my finished Moda Blockheads 5 quilt top. Are you ready to see it? Okay, here she is. Oh, she turned out so pretty. I just love her. So for my quilt, I used one of my free setting patterns that are available on my blog at mysewquiltylife.com, and I actually had all of you vote at which one I should do because I was absolutely indecisive of which one I liked best. So without a doubt, Star Dance was the clear winner, which is what the setting is here. So for Star Dance, you used 5 12-inch blocks, 8 colored background 6-inch blocks, and 16 white background 6-inch blocks. So that's what I did here, and I just think it turned out so beautiful. For the setting, you also need half square triangles, which actually make this really cool secondary star pattern within the stars. So I think that is so fun. For my quilt, I used my Flower Girl fabric collection, which is my first ever fabric collection with Moda Fabrics. The collection is filled with all these yummy pinks and peaches and yellows and greens and these beautiful low volumes, which is actually what I used for my background in my quilt. I just love it. Oh, it's so pretty. Some of the things that I really love about the quilt is that this was my first ever time participating in Moda Blockheads, and I absolutely had such a fun time. The blocks were so beautiful and the designers did an awesome job. Another thing is that this was also my first time ever designing a block for Moda Blockheads, and my block is actually one of my 6-inch blocks right here. So cute. It is called Starling. I just love it. It is just darling. Starling is darling. Another thing I really love about my quilt is my husband actually helped me. He made all of the half square triangles you see in the quilt, which saved me a lot of time, and it was so cool to have him be a little part of this quilt. Now I'm so excited to get this quilt off to my quilter, and the next time you see it, it will be all quilted. Bye guys!
Hello Moda friends, my name is Cori Yoder of Coriander Quilts, and today I am going to be sharing with you my favorite ruler for trimming up quarter square triangles. This ruler has stayed in my arsenal of quilting rulers ever since I purchased it, and it is my most often used specialty ruler. So what is this amazing ruler, you might be asking? It is the June Taylor Perfect Half Square and Quarter Square Triangle Ruler. The first step that a pattern typically has you do is either draw your diagonal line on the back or draw 2 diagonal lines on the back, depending if you are drawing your cut line or your sewing line. This ruler has you mark the sewing line, so you will be drawing 2 diagonal lines. On the left side of the ruler, there is a nice blue line followed with 2 slots on either side. You place that blue line on your diagonal, and then you can run your pencil on either side to mark your sewing lines. This is the way half square triangles start. It's also the way quarter square triangles start. So you will place your 2 squares right sides together and sew on your marked sewing lines. This is what the unit will look like once it's sewn together on those marked lines. The next step is to cut it apart on the diagonal. So you can once again use your ruler for this step. You will put your dashed blue lines on your sewing lines, and then there is a slit right down in the center that you can put your rotary cutter in and just slide it on down, and it cuts apart there like that. Once you have cut these apart, you'll press to the dark fabric, and I have done that step here. And we have 2 half square triangles that if you were making half square triangles, you would trim down at this step into your desired size. We are making quarter square triangles, so I'm not going to trim these just yet. Instead, I'm going to mark one of these on the diagonal, again, using the ruler. This would be the next step for making quarter square triangles. So I have that blue line on the diagonal. I've used those slits to mark my sewing lines, and then I will take this up to my machine, put these right sides together, sew on those lines, and we will then be ready to press and trim. Here is what this looks like once it's sewn on those marked lines. Now we're ready to cut that apart, which we can use the ruler again, lining up the dashed lines on your sewing lines. Your rotary cutter goes in that slot, and then we are cutting it apart. And then we will have 2 quarter square triangle units. These will get pressed to one side, and then we are ready to trim those down. This next step is what I use this ruler for most often. Once we have our quarter square triangle sewn, we're going to use the ruler for the trimming. Because it has the diagonal lines going in both directions, we can very easily center everything up and make sure that we are trimming everything equally from that center on out. I am trimming these to 3.5 inches square. So we have a 3.5 inch square slot here and one on the other side. So the first step is to center everything and then trim your left and right sides. After you have trimmed those two sides, you can rotate your mat or rotate your unit, and we are going to trim it once more, line everything up, make sure your center point is right there in the center, and then we're again using that 3.5 inch mark to trim this down. Once we've trimmed everything, we're left with this really tidy quarter square triangle. Sometimes we will have units in our blocks that are almost a quarter square triangle, but not quite. So while it might be a unit that I am not making with the ruler fully, it might be a unit that I use to trim. And this block right here is a great example of that. I did not use this ruler to make this unit here. But when it came time to trim, I could really easily place my ruler right there with that center point and could trim this down. This was a 4.5 inch unfinished unit, so I could easily trim on either side my 4.5 inch and square this block up beautifully. Thank you so much. I have enjoyed sharing with you. I would love to see you over on my channel, Coriander Quilts, here on YouTube as well. I share videos most every Saturday, and I would love to have you stop by.
Hi everyone, Janet Claire here. And my top tip for keeping yourself organised is, well, I'm not really very organised, but I try. And I got this tip from my sister who's a dressmaker. And she is organised, and her top tip is to get the pattern, the thread, any sort of special ruler, whatever else you need, and the fabric, and you put it all together in a project pouch. Now these are quite big, as you can see, because we've got lots of fabric. Make sure that they're clear and see-through, and then you will be able to see at a glance. Here's my blockheads. You'll be able to see at a glance what you've got. They are neat to store, so they lie low, very flat, or you can have them propped up against the wall and you can see where you are, and then you're not worrying about where that ruler's kept, where the green thread was. It's all there and it's all organised for you. So get yourself some of these clear project folders and you'll be organised in a jiffy.
Hi. My name's Deb Strain, and I've been a designer with Moda for over 25 years. I'm here to share a few tips today about color and color placement. And although I'm a very novice quilter, I do paint every day and design fabric for Moda. I hand paint it, and then I also paint for other products, the designs for other products. So color and placement is important in everything I do every day. And one thing that Moda has done to make things easier in the quilting world is they often provide these wonderful color block templates. And when I did the Ohio Star in the Moda Blockheads 5, this was so helpful to me, and it took a lot of the guesswork out. So they've just lined up a bunch of different Ohio Star blocks here for you that you can take and color them in. I use just colored pencils, and you can try different ways that, try how you want to see the colors and the color placement. I wanted to do my block using honey and lavender, so I knew that my colors were going to be pretty much yellows, grays, blacks, and white. And so I colored all the 9 different variations. I picked which one I liked best, which was this one. And then I enlarged it just because it helped me when I'm playing around with it.
And then actually I took the charm pack from Honey and Lavender, and then after I had this done, I just started playing with where I wanted the colors to be and which fabrics actually looked best. So for this one, I started with this yellow and decided that was a little too busy. So I went ahead and tried this, but I already knew which colors were going to go where from the color placement sheet. Now Robin Pickens does this a lot and provides it on her Instagram with different blocks, and that is a wonderful resource. You can go to her and see that as well. So after I got this all done, I got to put my block together for blockheads, and this is what I came up with. And so from my color placement coloring that I did, that was my block for Blockheads 5. Happy quilting!
Hi, I'm Lisa with Moda, and I'm back to show you my actually completed Blockheads 5 quilt. It's the first one of all 5 that I've actually completed, so I'm super proud about that. So this is my mixture of the 6-inch blocks, and then I added some of my own 9-inch blocks. It's a combination of blues and greens, but it has scraps from all different designers. I can't resist having a striped border, binding, so that's there. I have my long armor, Maggie Honeyman, quilted my quilt, and she always quilts my name in it for the label, which I love, and she named the quilt and then also added her name to it because the long armor is just as much a part of the quilt as the piecer. And then I did make some 12-inch blocks and then all kinds of fun other stuff. I love doing a pieced backing. I love, love, love it, and I'm super excited that it's finally finished. So can't wait to see all of yours finished as well.